We look ahead to the NBA draft and some guards, and one particular who could potentially slip to Miami at number 13.
You are Locked On Heat, your daily Miami Heat podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Heat. I'm Wes Goldberg here with David Ramil. On today's show, we are looking at the NBA draft today. The Heat have the 13th pick, and I want to take a look at the guards in this draft because it's a loaded position. This is known as a guard draft at the very top, but however, most of these guys are expected to go before the Heat pick. But we also saw the Heat grab a top 10 projected guy in Darius Acuff Jr. last year. Kaz slides into the 20s. The Heat scoop him up. We were super excited on draft night when we did our live draft show from the arena, from the Heat's draft watch party there. And so I kind of wanted to frame our conversation today in that way. Basically, who we're hoping to fall to the Heat among some of these top guards, specifically just looking at this crop of guards. We'll look at the forwards. We're going to do our Blue Notebook deep dive scouting reports on all these guys and more as the offseason goes on. But just some of the names that we're talking about here. I'm not going to include, obviously, Darren Peterson or AJ DeBance or any of those top guys. Like, those guys will not slide to the Heat. I can report that right now, David. But the names that we're talking about here who are considered between basically 5 and the end of the lottery, Keaton Wagler, Darius Acuff, Kingston Flemings, Brayden Burries, Mikel Jr. There's one other guard that I didn't include there that if you're a draft head, you probably are like, why aren't you including that guy? We're going to talk about that guy in the third segment. But of that group, Wagler, Acuff, Flemings, Burries, Brown, who do you hope kind of makes like a Yakachonis and slides to the Heat?
It's an interesting question because there's a few players there. They have potential, obviously. And one of the things I'm looking for is whether or not they have NBA-ready physicality. And because we've seen players of this type, and they're very similar in physicality in terms of like their overall size, their weight, and whether or not that translates as a rookie, it seems a little bit less likely. But one player in particular stands out to me, and that's Brayden Burries. I think he's got at 6'4", 210. He's a guy who can handle. He's explosive. He looks like he could really play with pace. He can really handle the kind of more physical aspects of the NBA. And it seems like he has like a skill set that could translate almost immediately and be an impactful player with a high level of athleticism that's currently missing from Miami's roster. And so he brings a lot of things that Miami just doesn't have right now, and at a high level too. So they could absolutely use somebody like that could slide in almost immediately, especially if there is a trade and Miami winds up keeping that 13th pick. He would wind up being able to provide something immediate off the bench that Miami just doesn't have right now.
I love this pick. It might have been mine. I debated Brayden Burries. I'm going to go in a different direction, but I love Burries as a player. If the Heat end up with him after this draft, I would be excited. I love the size, like you mentioned, 6'4" with a plus wingspan. Really efficient shooting-wise, 49% overall. Shot almost 40% from three last season. And is the most two-way guy of the group of the guards that we're talking about here. And he's going to be able to defend at a high level. The only question is, how many positions is he going to be able to defend? I know he could defend ones and twos. He might be able to even defend threes. And that's really interesting to me in today's NBA because I'm watching these conference finals and I'm looking at the guards. I'm looking at Stephon Castle. I'm looking at all the guards that the Thunder employ, right? I'm looking at the way that in Knicks Cavs, if you can't defend at your guard spot, you're getting picked on relentlessly. And I just think if you're a guard, you have to be one of two things. You either have to be a two-way guy, like Brayden Burries projects to be, like Stephon Castle is, like Kason Wallace is, like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is. Gilgeous-Alexander is an underrated defender. You have to be one of those guys, or you have to be so freaking good offensively that whatever you're giving up defensively is worth it. And we're talking about Steph Curry. We're talking about Donovan Mitchell. We're talking about Jalen Brunson. Like, you have to be so good on offense that it doesn't even matter what you give up defensively. And that's a really hard, as we're going to get into here, that's a really hard thing to project. Because some guys come into this draft looking like, oh, this guy could really be this explosive offensive player it is so like you have to be better than even like guys like Tyler Hero or Norm Powell offensively if you want to be like the lead guard of an offense. And it's such a high bar, and you just don't know if these guys are going to reach it. And so in that case, you look at a guy like Burries and you're like, as good as he might end up being offensively, because his offensive ceiling is pretty high still, I at least know, hey, defensively, he can more than hold his own. He's going to be able to play for us. I just think the only question with him is the ceiling overall.
I'm not too worried about it. I mean, I think it's a great point to compare to the guys that are in the draft, or I'm sorry, in the playoffs right now, like Harper, Cap. You just need those guys that have elite athleticism, and I think Burries has that to such a high degree that he's going to find a way to make it work. And as long as he has some on-ball skills and can shoot at a decent level, and it looks like he can, I'm not too worried about it, because you can just basically put him out there and let him go to work. And he's not going to cost you anything defensively. He's going to give effort. He's going to bring physicality. He's going to bring athleticism. These are things that Miami's missing, because they have either guys that are not good defensively, and Hero and Powell, as you mentioned, or a guy like Mitchell, who's a little undersized. It's one of the reasons why I like Kasper Siakis, to be honest with you, is because he brought a lot of effort and size at a position that Miami's sorely lacking in that regard. And so with a guy like Burries, he brings it, and I'd like to see that translate at the NBA level, and I think it will.
He doesn't. I don't know that he's like a lead guard, and if you're looking for somebody to basically run the offense, I don't think you're drafting Burries. But I don't know that you need that player in today's NBA.
Right.
I don't really know. And by the way, I think Stephon Castle had those same questions. He did have those same questions. Right. And I wouldn't say that he runs San Antonio's offense, but he helps run San Antonio's offense. Yeah, it's him, it's Harper, it's Fox, it's Wemby. Like, they have a bunch of guys. Like, sometimes you can kind of do this by committee. But the committee has to be good, talented players, right? Like, it can't be a committee of anybody.
Just don't vomit all over yourself as you're handling the ball and you're bringing it up court.
Which, by the way, Castle did do in Game 2. He did basically vomit all over himself with 9 turnovers against the Thunder. But he's young. So I think Burries is a great pick, and I'm not going to argue it with you. The other guy I would say is I was between Wagler and Acuff, and when I first entered this exercise, I was thinking I was going to say Wagler, because I just look at the on-paper stuff before I even get into the scouting report, start watching the tape on these guys. I'm like, he's 6'6". He's kind of got that natural feel. I love his playmaking chops. Everything that you hear about this guy is great. I'm just like, and then Acuff, I just keep hearing like these Kyrie Irving comps with him. And I'm just like, I get really scared when we just start comparing guys to like huge names like that. Yeah, I'm just like, okay, so if he's not Kyrie, then what is he? Right. And that's where my thought goes. Is he just Rob Dillingham, who's already gotten traded? You know what I mean? Like, what's the upside with him? Then I started looking at his combine measurements. Wagler, I love at 6'6". His wingspan is also 6'6", which isn't bad, but you kind of wished it was better. Yeah. With Acuff, he's 6'3", but he's got a 6'7" wingspan. And so now I'm thinking, this guy could potentially be a two-way player. He didn't really show it, but we've seen this with guys in the past. Like, we saw this with Tyrese Maxey. At Kentucky, was not a two-way player whatsoever under John Calipari there. And I wouldn't say that Maxey's like an awesome, he's not Alex Caruso on defense, but he tries really hard. He fights over screens. Like, he gives a lot more effort in Philadelphia, where you can't just attack Tyrese Maxey the way that you attack some other smaller guards. And that's all you need. You don't have to be great. You just can't be like this huge target for opposing players, and I don't think Maxey is, and I kind of think that's what Acuff could end up being if he's drafted to the right developmental system. If Acuff ends up in like Sacramento, I'd be worried about him, to be honest, and a lot of places project him to end up there, so I'm kind of hoping for his sake he doesn't end up there. But if he slides to Miami, I really like the Heat getting their hands on it. So basically, I'm going Acuff here with my pick. That's the guy that that's the guy who I'm on draft night crossing my fingers hoping every team passes on him for some reason. I don't expect it's going to happen, because apparently the interviews have been really good with him too. The shooting numbers speak for themselves with him. His finishing ability, his handle is so tight. Like, you start to see why the Kyrie comps are being made. Yeah. But I do think that there is a little bit of a safety blanket that if he doesn't end up being this all-time great offensive player, if he's just a very good offensive player, I think there's a safety blanket of, well, he's also going to be able to hold his own defensively because of what the measurements are. And if he's drafted to Miami, they'll be able to get him to lean into that a little bit more. So
Absolutely.
I think the floor is higher on Acuff than I had initially thought coming into this exercise, and now I'm coming out of it being like, yeah, I think Acuff's the guy.
Yeah, I agree. I like Wagler's kind of the measurables, and I like the intangibles a little bit, and the
Yeah,
ceiling might be higher for a guy like that. But I just also like Acuff, and again, being able to just get into the league and not be intimidated because you can't handle the overt physicality or the difference in physicality of it or anything like that. So to me, that would be the difference there. And I just think that at 6'3", he's got the size and the strength that will be okay at the guard position. He's explosive, but he also plays with good change of pace. He can stop. He attacks the rim mercilessly. I think
yes,
he's a really good finisher. Like, these are all things that, again, they'll translate at the NBA level. I mean, it's going to be tougher, no doubt, because you're going to have elite shot blockers and things of that sort, different defenses and schematics that will be able to take you away from that comfort zone. But as long as you're able to bring that at a high level, and he has, and I think he will continue to do so. Again, that's something that will immediately make an impact at the NBA level. I think Wagler could be the better player overall over the breadth of their careers if he develops in a certain way, especially in terms of physicality.
yeah.
But I think Acuff could be a guy that could immediately impact and contribute to winning.
Let's keep this conversation going, and specifically, if the Heat are building around Bam, which they are, who among these guys are the best fit with Bam? We're going to talk about that next.
Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. There's nothing like playoff basketball live. The intensity, the crowd, the rivalries. It's a completely different experience when you're in the building in the NBA playoffs, where unforgettable moments happen, and being there in person just hits different. Game Time makes it incredibly easy to find tickets, even for those hard to get playoff games, in just a few taps. And with a Game Time guarantee, you know you're getting 100% authentic tickets on time and at the best price. Game Time makes it easy to find great seats in just a couple of minutes, and you'll love the fact that they just show you the price right away. You know exactly what you're paying for. Fees are already included, so there's no surprises at checkout, and you know where you're going to be sitting, because the seat view feature, it's a game changer. If you're going to a venue you've never been to before, you know exactly what the view of the stage or the field or the court is going to be like, and it's a great advantage to use on the app. And the app is really easy to use, just a few taps and you get exactly what you're looking for at the best price. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDON. That's LOCKEDON, and you get $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Locked On Heat. Thanks so much for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. It's the off season, but we're still going 5 days a week. And you can get the show ad-free by joining the Everydayer Club, plus members-only Discord access, where we are building a community of Heat fans to talk about the offseason and the NBA draft. Would love to get your guys' thoughts on the draft in our Discord page. So join the cookie gang at lockedonheat.supercast.com. The Heat are obviously building around Bam Adebayo, and we're talking about guards. You want a guard who fits with Bam. I don't know if you have a different answer for this, David. Maybe you do, but like when you look at this guard group and you say, okay, we want to build something going forward, and maybe, you know, Tyler Hero, we're not going to offer him the extension this summer. Norm Powell, TBD on his potential free agency here. We obviously already drafted Kasparis Yakachonis, but we kind of view him as more of a combo guard, but, you know, a long-term piece potentially there. We got Davion Mitchell under contract, but I still think if you're drafting a guard here, you still need to consider that guard's fit with Bam, because Bam is the cornerstone. When you look at that group, who do you think is the best fit with Bam? And is I don't even know if it's a different answer. Maybe it's Barry's, or do you have a different answer here?
I don't know. I tend to think that it's Wagler. At the same time, because he has such great playmaking skills and his shooting, spacing on the floor, et cetera. Those kinds of things I think will translate. He can get to the rim and play at pace there, and he's not explosive necessarily, but he's got his own quickness, his own speed, and I think that being able to find guys like Bam along the perimeter, now that he's stretching his game out, Kel'el Ware, if he's a part of this team, you know, all these players that you're looking for somebody who can space the floor, and I think Wagler can get to the rim and create those opportunities if he gets there. So that's who I think would be the best fit. But can I be honest with you? I don't care who the best fit is anymore. Like I just want somebody with that dog, that attitude. Just go out there and be like, okay, we're making the point here, and I think it's one that keeps sticking with me as I watch these playoffs. I don't think you look on paper and you say any of these guys have a great fit with one another. They're just good athletes. They're great athletes that can do something, and they have attitude, and they have physicality, and they have the ability to make things happen. Something you love to talk about with Jaime all the time. He makes things happen. Yeah, get me more of those. I don't want more dribbling around. I don't want more just kind of standing there. You have the ball in your hands, make something happen. And so I'm looking at who amongst this guard class can do that, not whether or not they fit necessarily well with Bam Adebayo. So maybe that's the wrong approach, but I think I'm just looking for somebody who has the ability to make an impact because they have the physicality, because they have the skill level, because they have something there that makes them an advantage creator that will help Miami's anemic offense at times. So, I mean, I think Burries could do that because he has that size and skill. I think Acuff can do that too. So those are the two guys. I mean, again, I think Wagler would be the third pick among those three in terms of who I would prefer to slide to Miami. But yeah, I think those are all great players.
You asked if you think maybe that's the wrong approach. Not only do I not think that that's the wrong approach. That might be my favorite take you've had in the history of us doing this show together.
Wow.
That's a great take. Like, F fit. Who cares? Yeah. I do think as an NBA media space, we kind of have a fit fetish.
Sure.
We're always talking about how does this player fit with this player? Like LeBron and Dwayne Wade didn't fit. They made it work. But the point you made, like, you're right. Like, I don't know that if you drew it up, you would be like, yeah, Dylan Harper, Stephon Castle, Victor Wembanyama. Like, if we had to talk about fit, I don't know that we would. And that sounds crazy because obviously it works. The Thunder, like, would you put Shai Gilgeous-Alexander with a bunch of other shaky outside shooting guards? Probably not, but they make it work. Right. And why do they make it work? Because they're all damn good basketball players who make stuff happen, to your point.
Yeah.
And that is more important than anything. Is like, you could be a fit on paper, but if you're not doing anything when you're out there, I don't really care. And a lot of fit stuff is a lot of fit concerns are wiped out with shooting. A lot of people will say that, right? Like, hey, if you can shoot, you basically fit with anybody. And that's true, right? The other thing that wipes out fit concerns is playing really hard and really smart basketball.
You know something? We're talking about the playoffs. Josh Hart didn't fit with anybody for years, right? And he just had 26 points in an Eastern Conference Finals game. Like, at some time,
he's also benched at the end of Game 1 of that same series. But whatever. Like,
100%.
It's such a good point, and you've got me thinking. I'm like, yeah, you know what? F this fit with Bam. Go get whoever you think is the doggiest, best Miami Heat culture player at 13. Go draft that guy. They'll figure out the fit later. That said, I kind of think they might get the best of both worlds here. If it's Barry's, great. I actually do like that fit with Bam because I think Bam can do enough with the ball in his hands that I don't know that he's the best on paper fit with Bam, but I like the idea of having both of those guys on the defensive end. I really like that. And I kind of want the Heat to lean into that a little bit more of just like that overall brute physicality. And I think Barry brings that. I do think Acuff is probably the best fit with Bam, but I also think he's kind of got that dog in him too. Yes. And I like that. And so if you can get both, obviously get both. With Acuff, he's got that unique ability that I don't think anybody else in this guard group has. I think this guy is going to bring two to the ball off of a ball screen. And when the Heat are at their best, when Tyler Hero and Bam have been at their best, it's when Hero is getting two to go to the ball. And it's a week where Hero is making good decisions with the ball, passing wise. And he's able to make that simple pass out of that double team. Acuff, I think, as long as he's got the size to make that pass out of the double team, I think it's going to work. And his spacing is legit.
Yeah.
So, like, we're talking about like a ball screen, not right at the three-point arc where your toes are on the line. We're talking about spacing and bringing to the ball maybe like 30 feet away from the basket, 28 feet away from the basket. And that's really valuable when you talk about spacing and helping the offense overall. So I think Acuff might be the answer here. And the other guy that we haven't even talked about, Kingston Flemings. I really like him. And there's some definite on paper concerns with him, but then I watched the tape and I'm like, why can't I shake this guy? He's got great feel, great wiggle. The outside jumper is a little shaky, and depending on who you talk to or what you read, and some people buy the outside shot, some people don't. I think that's going to be like, if you work him out, that's up to you to figure it out. If you buy the outside shot with him, because the percentages were good, but the volume was low, so it's a little like, what do we really make of this? If you think that in your internal workouts that you're buying the outside jumper, I think he goes way up on your board to like Wagler Acuff range. He reminds me of De'Aaron Fox, the way he gets downhill, and he's got like this awesome wiggle to his game. I'm like, this guy's just going to get to the rim over and over and over again. And that ability to get downhill, and he makes good passes, he makes simple reads. I kind of like him, and he might be the best passer of this group. So
yeah. A lot of people are saying he's like the safest pick. Like he's the guy who's almost guaranteed to succeed at the NBA level. So maybe the ceiling isn't as high with him, but the floor is higher than the rest of the guys on this group. So it's an interesting comparison there. But I don't know.
I like his ability to hit that pocket pass to Bam. Like if we're talking about like getting Bam going, Bam, we talked about this, spoon feeding this guy, easy shots on the roll. He's the guy who I trust making that pocket pass, that lob pass. Like he's got all that stuff in his bag. He's a very advanced passer. He reads that option, finds that second read, whatever. Like he's really good at it. So I kind of like Flemings.
Yeah, it would be a good fit, and I think he does have a lot of potential there too. And I think he's shown the ability to be an impact player. Yeah. So I mean, he could very well be the guy with the best fit in terms of playing alongside Bam Adebayo. But I don't know.
I think he's the best on paper fit. But
yeah,
maybe that doesn't matter as much as people think.
Go
ahead. Sorry.
No, go.
One player who we haven't talked about yet.
Yeah.
Most NBA draft experts expect to be there when the Heat make their pick. ESPN actually just put him going to the Heat in their latest mock draft. We're going to tell you who it is and talk about his fit after this.
Today's episode is brought to you by DoorDash. Postseason's heating up, and DoorDash has a way to keep fans in their bag the whole way through. Whether you're watching the highlights, the tunnel fits, or just your favorite player, DoorDash makes the entire season more fun because every player has their bag. With DoorDash, fans have one too. DoorDash keeps your snacks stocked, your gear fresh, and your watch party vibes absolutely on point. There are nights when your team stresses you out. Let DoorDash become your post-game therapy. Sometimes you just need dessert now. Cavs fans are certainly going through it. 0-2 down in the series. I know they could probably use some snacks late at night watching the Knicks continue to get on these big runs. Those late night interviews are hitting, and suddenly you need chips at midnight. Well, DoorDash is built exactly for that. And if the group chat says pull up, DoorDash makes sure you show prepared. Snacks, cups, even a phone charger for that friend who's always at 2%. From tip-off to overtime, stay in your bag and order on DoorDash. You can get snacks, drinks, gear, whatever gets you through this season, delivered right to your door. DoorDash in your bag all season long. Today's episode is also brought to you by PrizePicks. The regular season's wrapped up. The NBA playoffs are finally here, and there's no better way to get even more out of all the high-flying action than with PrizePicks, a preferred partner of the NBA. Every bucket, every dime, every big performance means more when you're building your lineups on PrizePicks. PrizePicks is simple to play. You just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and if your picks are right, you just cash in. You can choose from all of your favorite sports too, whether it's basketball, baseball, hockey, UFC, soccer, the World Cup's coming up, and more. It's all available in all 50 states, too. So you can start building lineups around some of your favorite playoff players, picking more or less on points or assists. Who knows what will happen tonight's game against the Oklahoma City Thunder and the San Antonio Spurs. Can Victor Wembanyama have a bounce-back game there? Download the PrizePicks app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA. You get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNBA. You get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, a preferred partner of the NBA. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Locked On Heat. Alabama's Labaron Philon posted that he worked out with the Heat in Miami this week, and then ESPN in their post-combine mock draft has the Heat taking Labaron Philon. Here's what Jeremy Wu, who writes for ESPN, did the mock draft. Here's what he wrote. Their need for added shot creation in the backcourt makes this an interesting landing spot for Filon if they keep the pick. He had an outstanding season at Alabama and proved himself as a potent scorer who can generate offense in spurts. He can be polarizing for scouts with questions about his ability to run a team in the half court. I do think that Filon is a clear notch below some of these other guys that we've talked about, right? There does seem to be, based on all of the boards that you look at, it's like the very top group. It's that group we just talked about. And then there's Filon, who most of people expect to be here in the Heat's range. I understand. I've seen multiple mock drafts have Filon going to Miami.
Yep.
I get it. If the Heat are looking for a player like some of these guards and all of them are taken before the Heat pick and they are like, hey, we kind of still want that type of player, I understand why they would go to LeBaron Philon, but what are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, I think it's the same thing. I think it's a player that most likely will be there for Miami. And I got to be honest with you, I'm kind of disappointed that it would. I just, just even that scouting report of offense and spurts. That's Miami's whole offense is offense and spurts. I don't want that. Can he run a half-court offense? Miami can't run a half-court offense. Give me somebody who has that already, as opposed to somebody who seems like it's just a perfect extension of Miami's existing problems. I don't know. It's like I have concerns about the size too, the weight. I think this the thinnest of all the guys that we're talking about here. So I just don't know that he's going to be able to bring that level of physicality that I was talking about earlier. So I like some of what he brings to the table. I think he could add to a team that's maybe a little bit more fleshed out, a little bit fuller. Miami needs somebody who can be a bigger swing, and I just don't think Filon is that. So I think he's the one most likely to be available for Miami, and if so, I would be disappointed if they take him, to be honest with
you. I kind of feel the same way. And maybe that's just out of, like, we just talked about the guys who are clearly better than him. And it's like, whoa, I'd really love these guys. And then if you end up with Filon, it kind of feels like a disappointing consolation prize. Yeah. Now, look, to be said, I like guys who were productive in college. And he was very productive this past season in Alabama. 2 years in college. Not very good his freshman year. Very good this last year. I like that. I like seeing that. We saw that from Jaime, right? Who got progressively better each year in college. That means something to me, right? If you're showing me growth, that you're showing me then potential. So maybe Filon isn't as good as these guys right now, but he could grow to be one of the best guards in this draft. That's definitely possible. I just don't know. Like, I watch him play, and I'm like, I kind of like him as a player. I just don't know that I like him for Miami. Yeah, they don't. To your point, like, they don't really need that. They either need a lead guard or they need a real, like, two-way dynamo. They don't need, like, this whatever in between Filon is. Now, some teams do. Like, I actually think, like, Golden State could use a guy like this. Like, that makes more sense for maybe them than I think it does Miami. But, it's like I saw the Emmanuel Quickley comp somewhere, and I'm like, that sounds about right. Quickley's a good player. I don't know that I want Quickley on this roster, right? He makes sense for other rosters. So, it's okay. I understand that the Heat worked him out. Maybe they end up drafting him. Maybe we're all wrong. The one thing that you and I say every year is that no matter what the Heat do, it will surprise us in this draft. And so, maybe that ends up being. But there's the other guy. The other guy we didn't really talk about is Mikel Brown Jr.
Yeah.
He also might be available. That's more like I think Filon's floor is higher than Mikel Brown's. But I would be more excited for Brown because that's the upside play. It's like, if this guy works, if this guy hits as a lead guard. Whereas if Filon hits, he hits as like a good combo guard that you would like to have on your roster, but maybe just not this roster. Maybe, by the way, maybe that doesn't matter. Maybe this Heat roster is just so up in the air that it doesn't matter. Maybe if you think Filon could be this awesome like combo guard for you, maybe you just take him and you say, we'll figure it all out later in terms of, what this means for our roster. Anything else on here?
No, I mean, I didn't watch much of Brown. He just didn't seem like he stood out as far as the rest of these guys or the one that's likely to be available for Miami at 13, or even in terms of if he's a guy who slides. Like if Brown and Filon are there at 13 for Miami, I still think they'd take Filon rather than Brown, but maybe I'm wrong in that assessment. So
yeah, the medicals on Brown are a little weird too. Like if the Heat do the work on him and feel good about it, maybe they go ahead and take him. But the tools are really there. Watch Mikel Brown. Like, his best moments, you're like, oh wow, like he's definitely pretty raw. But if you can figure that out and harness that potential, he could end up being one of the best guards in this draft. Like all the physical tools are there with him. But the medicals are the scary part with him. Thanks for tuning in today to Locked On Heat. Make sure you subscribe and follow Locked On Heat so you get all of the latest episodes. If you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Join the Cookie Gang and get Locked On Heat ad-free, plus members-only Discord access and more. Head to lockedonheat.supercast.com to join the club. This is our last episode for the week. We will be back Sunday night, Monday morning with another mock Miami Heat offseason. We're going to do that. And we're really going to start digging into the NBA draft. So stay tuned here to Locked On Heat. Thanks so much for listening.